How to get the new Castles and Crusades rule set from the Fantasy Grounds Forge. Hello folks, it's been a while, it's me Boffrin, and I figured I'd take a moment to sit here and make a quick video and show you guys how to get the new rule set. So we've loaded up on the Fantasy Grounds website, that's fantasygrounds.com, and all we need to do to get the new Castles and Crusades rule set, which is currently free, will not always be free folks, but currently is, we'll need to go ahead and log in. And we apply our information, we go ahead, click our login button, it pulls us in. Then what we'll need to do is go back to the store, and we want to go to the Forge. Now I already own the rule set, so I'm gonna just select show, and what we want to do to make sure that we find the rule set is click on rule set, and then we're going to want to scroll down, and you'll see Castles and Crusades is listed as one of the rule sets. And just to show you how to add a new rule set, we'll go ahead and pick up, how about this Fallout rule set? So you just click on the cart here, and then you see it adds it successfully into your inventory. And that's how you get the new rule set for Fantasy Grounds. How to load and update the new Castles and Crusades rule set in Fantasy Grounds. We are going to update and load the Castles and Crusades rule set. So, very easy to see when you have an update. When you get a new product on Fantasy Grounds, this check for update buttons will also get this red mark around it. Basically, whenever the software is ready to be updated, you'll also get that same indicator around this too. So, what we want to do at this stage is we just want to click on this, and we'll see what happens. As you can see, we are all up to date on Fantasy Grounds now. So, what we are going to want to do is we've gotten the new rule set. We have the option to create a campaign or load a campaign. Since this is a new rule set for us, we're going to want to create a campaign. That way we can play around with what's in it. You'll notice I've got two rule sets here. I've got Castles and Crusades Legacy and just plain old Castles and Crusades. For the new rule set from the Forge, you're going to want to click on just plain old Castles and Crusades. And we'll give it a simple name for us to remember here. Let's go ahead and just call it CNC Lesson. And because we're not going to broadcast this one, we're going to set it to LAN. Then we're going to go ahead and click Start. That'll let Fantasy Grounds load up, which will allow us to load in the relevant material from the rule set and make characters and such. But we're going to go ahead and be a bit more completionist than that, and we are going to go back to our launcher, because after you have a rule set up, it's good to know how to load a rule set. So we'll want to click on our Load Campaign button. Right here we've got the rule set that we created, which was CNC Lesson, and that's creating our campaign for us. And we'll just click on that one, we'll click Start. It saved our setting to know it's a LAN game. We'll let it load up, and when it's done loading, you'll see that's how you load up the fresh rule set in here. How to load modules in the new Castles and Crusades rule set. Hello friends. So, there are a couple different ways to load modules in the Castles and Crusades rule set. One is when this campaign setup window comes up, just click on Next. And in our data modules, we can either click on the modules button, or we can click on core, and that will load up the core stuff. We're going to go ahead and click on modules. And this loads up brings us to the area to pull books. Now, if you're an owner of the previous Castles and Crusade rule set, something you will want to be aware of is these are the older versions of the modules right here, where it says just Player's Handbook, copyright 2017, Monsters and Treasures, copyright 2014. So we are going to go back a step, and we want to make sure that in this case, since we're just covering the base rule set, what we are going to want to load up here is the Castles and Crusades Quick Start Guide. And that's what comes with the free rule set that's available until March of 2022, or the end of March. So, this is the Player's Handbook 8th printing. So, different cover, says 8th printing on it, so that way we know this is the newer Player's Handbook. But in this case, we are just going to go with the Castles and Crusade Quick Start Guide. Just click on Load, and that should be loaded up here. The other way to get to this would be just click on Castles and Crusades Core, and see what will happen is it will load anything it considers to be core content. So if we go to load Castles and Crusades All, then it should load up, would load it all up again. So we are going to go ahead and go with the other way to do this, which would be click on our library button up here, and then click on our modules. We'd go to activation, which opens up that same window we'd had opened. In this case, we're going to unload that 8th printing of the handbook, because we are going to go ahead and just use the quick start guide. All right. And there we go. So that's a couple different ways to load up Castles and Crusades. How to make a cleric in the new Castles and Crusades Fantasy Grounds rule set. Alright folks, we're going to go over how to make a character in Castles and Crusades with the new rule set. Pop this character out of the way, and we will just start fresh. So today we're going to make a cleric, and we'll show you how to get to all the cool places. So first bit would be we open this window by just clicking on player, click on characters, and then we'll just add item. We'll give them a name. Just call her our Elvish Cleric Weston. And we need to generate stats. So there's a couple ways we can generate stats. We could just pick up our table die. We'll right click 3 times. Release it into the chat window. You see we got our 3d6 rolled. The other thing we can do is we can take those 3 dice, drop them onto the bar, and then we have a quick button to be able to generate our numbers. What we can do to get these numbers out is we can drag them. Like, since this is going to be a cleric, I think a 13 wisdom would be better than any of the other numbers on wisdom here. See, we just drag and drop like that. Or we could type the numbers in. So let's see. Do an 11 charisma. All right. Stats are in. Now, me personally, I'll usually just do races next. So let's make ourselves an elf. As you notice, the dexterity went up. However, the constitution did not go down. So we are going to have to adjust that down manually. So we'll make that a 10. Also gave me some abilities. Added some traits to me. So if we look on our abilities tab here, you'll see we got ability score increase, where it does list the decrease, but nothing was affected. Enhanced senses. Yep. Spell resistance. Spot hidden. Twilight treasure. So as a cleric, first primary stat is going to have to be wisdom. Now, as a cleric, it could be a good idea to have a charisma as a good secondary primary stat. However, it's up to you. Your class will always determine one primary stat. And when you're playing a non-human, you will get to choose the other primary stat that you have. Let's add our class. So we are going to be a cleric. We get an optional level. So our new level is going to be 1. Or roll our HP. Or, choose to roll or do manual. We'll accept the roll. There we got a 4 HP. Not fantastic, but not awful either. We're going to go into what you'd want to do, which is let's go ahead and get some inventory in here. So we'll go into our campaign, go to our items. Oh yeah, we would generally want to roll for gold. It's going to be up to your game master. They may want to say, hey, you know, take these items off this list. Or it's possible that they may say, take max gold. But if they're like, yeah, I need you to roll for gold, once again, there's another way to do this. So we can just type in /roll and then 2d10 times 10, which is the amount of gold that a cleric would wind up with. And since that operation isn't going to be available on our table dice, we can click and drag that if we wanted to make a button for it. So if we type it in, what'll happen is it'll roll our dice. You'll see that we got 150 gold because it multiplied by 10. Or if we click our button that we made, see we got 160 gold with our button. That's two ways to go ahead and generate the gold. I'm not going to worry about gold at this stage. I am just going to worry about getting on some armor. And I know that I would like a mace. We'll just keep it simple here. We will go ahead and right here we'll click on our button, put it to the t-shirt, which means it's equipped. When it's empty like that, it means that we own it, but we don't have it on us. When it's in the sack, that means it's just carried. So now we'll click on our combat tab. You'll notice we've got an armor bonus of +3. And see, we can make that armor bonus go away by either clicking on it to empty, that we're not carrying it, or carried instead of equipped. And see, we have lost our armor bonus there. Let's put our armor bonus back on though. The last bit is spell. If we look at our abilities, it should tell us if we get any bonus spells. We do have a 13 wisdom, which means we get 1 extra first level spell. So how do our spells work? We can always open up our cleric class that we got right there. We can scroll on down. That'll tell us the amount of spells that we get. So first level, we would get 3 level 0 spells. And normally we would get 1 first level spell, but because we have a 13 wisdom, we actually get 2. And then we just need to get to our spells, which will be under character, and then we'll click on spells. Now if I've already got this selected here, normally with the quick start rules, it's just going to be, you know, a list of all the spells, be they arcane or druid or cleric. So we're going to narrow this down to cleric 0. We will go ahead, we will say we've got first aid, and you know, detect magic seems like that could be something interesting. The next bit that we are going to need here are our first level spells, because we do have 2. So the classic Cure Light Wounds. If you notice, I'm just dragging into that little grayed out area. I think light might be an interesting one if we've got one. You know, detecting undead is not necessarily a bad thing on a thing. Bless, there we go. So I've added an extra spell here, but I can only prep 2. So when I move the mode from standard to preparation, we'll see what happens. So I've decided, you know, I would like to have a bless. I'd like to have a cure light wounds. So now if I move to combat, you notice I've only got bless and cure light wounds because I went ahead and prepped those. And we will prep 1 of each of these. There we go. Now in combat, when we use a spell, we would tick it off there. But let's go ahead and show you. So yeah, basically, I don't think too many people are going to put up a fuss when you're trying to cure wounds on them. And this is what you'd click to heal. So let's kind of see this in action a bit, shall we? Right, so what I did was I seeded the combat tracker here. Oh, speaking of which, let's do a portrait. And let's use something from Castles and Crusades. So I think I will go with the Cleric. There we go. We'll take our cleric into the combat tracker. Now, since this is counting me as the game master, I have access to this little targeting thing that'll make my life a little easier. So I'm going to target the baboon, and the baboon will target Weston. Now, as you notice, I'm not going to be able to control Weston from here, but that's okay. Probably would not be a bad idea to do initiative. Alright, so Weston won the initiative. And I think we are going to just attack the baboon. So we'll do combat. And we'll go for the attack with the light mace. Make sure it's equipped. 16, which hits the baboon. Oh, and wow, we kind of took that baboon down a bit. So, just so that way you can see what happens, we will, check and see if we can even hit Weston. We'll bite Weston until we hit him. There we go. That's a crit. So, Weston took 3 damage. Now, if we take a look now, on Weston's sheet, we'll see we've got 3 wounds out of 4, which is not so good for Weston here. Baboon goes unconscious, and we'll stick with that story. And Weston is now having to heal himself. So we'll go to our spells here. We're in combat. So we don't want to heal the monkey. So we're going to clear our target. Weston is actually going to heal himself. So we just need to target ourselves. Or actually, yeah, I can target myself that way and just click our heal button. And there we go. You'll notice my wounds are healed. Now, we're going to put some wounds back on Weston again. Because what we're going to do is going to go back to spells. I'm going to have to go back to... Alright, so here's what would happen. Let's add Cast a Bless. Since I'm in combat mode. See how it went away. Now, what we're going to do with for Weston here is we are going to untarget, because another way you can do this is click and drag the heal onto who you're going to heal. And there we go. Once again, 2 wounds are gone. And in theory, I can also heal the critter. Let's go ahead and try that. As you can see, we could heal the baboon. And that is just a little sample of how this works. Yeah, you've got buttons for your healing. And let's show a level up. So, we're ready to level. We can drag a cleric over again. You see, it lets us know that we're going to level 2. So we're going to accept. It'll roll fresh HP for us. Add 7 more HP. My goodness, all the difference a die roll makes. And now, if we look at our spell chart, we'll notice that we should actually add in, and it doesn't automatically add that in for. Increase that to 4. Now, we already had an extra first level spell for being a smarty pants. We got an extra one, so we're going to go ahead and bump that up to 3. So now, we'll just take ourselves out of combat mode. We're in prep. So now I can actually have Detect Undead as a spell prepped, and we could add another level 0 spell to our list. Okay, Purify, Detect Poison, Detect Magic, Endure Elements might be neat. We'll throw that in. There we go. That's got our spells prepped, and that's it. Thank you for watching this longer form video for me. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And have a great day. And thank you for choosing Trollord Games.
Trollord Games. Join the fray.